Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
And I want to just answer the question, is Haile Selassie I God? I didn't learn it that way, you know. I don't view Haile Selassie as God. I look at God as a German term for a deity, and Haile Selassie is not that, you know. We look at Haile Selassie as the manifestation of the Almighty in flesh and bone, you know, fully human, fully divine.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Panafrican Happy Man. I'm an entertainment attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I'm the host of the Lion Voice. Welcome once again to the Lion Voice. Give thanks for all of the new subscribers. The platform is growing, the ecosystem is growing. Maximum respect to all the Africans out there around the world who just celebrated the Battle of Adwa. We had some excellent series of events. Big up the anniversary development of Rastafari IDOR online study group. Special Zoom call Mighty. Give thanks for the Title Foundation here in the DMV. I was invited at the last moment to attend the event. I was able to address the audience for about 5 minutes. I went with a box of books of Haile Selassie's Ethiopia. I came home only with my heart filled, signing books. It was a great joy to know that the thirst, and I give thanks to all of the youth. That's what really made Iman heart full, was to see all the young people who were coming and all of the parents who were coming buying books for their children. So give thanks, because when I wrote it in the style of a Game of Thrones or a Lord of the Rings, you know, epic fantasy, when I wrote it in a epic fashion, you know, I had an audience, a young teenage to adult audience in mind. I didn't want to make it boring. So big up everyone who has bought the book, supported the book. You can get it on the platform, but in person, mighty. We have to just give thanks. This episode, we're going to talk about the question. We're going to go forward to the basics in the month of March. I said that. So for Rastafari. So for this episode, we're going to start with something that Rastafari 101, which is the divinity of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Is Haile Selassie I God? This is a question that, you know, by the time you reach, you know, people like myself in the trad, we don't even get into those things with people. So a lot of time we forget, you know, there's so many that are searching, that are seeking, or, you know, that just want a greater understanding. And now that we're building this Rastafari owned network on YouTube, it makes sense to, you know, have this recorded so that we have the discussion around the divinity, around this question, is Haile Selassie I God? How can you worship a man? All of these questions are asked of the Rastafari community, and I wanted to address it. However, I don't want to address it in a way that seems like we're trying to convert someone. I'm not into that business. I'm not a preacher. You know, I don't consider myself in that vein. So I think the best way to address this central question is to share I'm on one journey into Rastafari. So that's what I intend to do, is to share the journey. And remember, the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story. So this platform, the solution side of the internet, we want to tell stories. And I have to start with my own story as well. Big up Lion Talk, we're bringing other people's stories on the network. Big up Lion Law, the other show on the network, and the Lion's Voice, whole heap of Lion action here. Oh, before I even get into how I came into Rastafari, make sure I big up the Lion Pride. If you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. And then I have to big up my Lion Pride on Patreon. Big up all of the patrons who are supporting via that platform. It's a key part of the creative ecosystem, these subscription services. So big up all of the Lion Pride that has invested their hard-earned dollars to build this platform. And big up all of the Lion Pride that been commenting, site checking in wherever you're from. The Lion Pride that call me on the phone and that I know that say, you know, you need a microphone, fix up your backdrop. Big up all of it, because guess what happened? This is how we grow, this is how we build, this is how we build community in the digital space. You know, there are many ways we can communicate, so we give thanks for all of it. We don't discount anything. This is the best time to be a creator. I tell people that, I can't stop saying. Also, you can see the Dejazmatch Kwasi merchandise me wear. Make sure you support the merch. Go to the store, buy the Reading Ras merchandise. We're making reading to be a thing once again. You know, my daughter would say bussing. You know, reading is gonna be bussing. We have to make reading the physical books in particular, because internet can crash at any time. So there always be a need for physical books. Support the Reading Ras merchandise. Make us send a message out there. All right, so let's talk about I am on journey to the divinity of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. One of the things I want to share is that I did not grow up, you know, in a religious household. I didn't grow up going to church. My father is a Pan-African socialist, I would call him. You know, a man that loved Marcus Garvey, but not the spiritual side of Marcus, the action part of Marcus. A man that loved Kwame Nkrumah, a man that, you know, is into that. So big up my father, because he watches the show as well. That is where the Pan-African root was born in you know. Grew up with a picture of Marcus Garvey in the house. One aim, one God, one destiny. But we didn't go to church, my brother and I. Big up my brother too. So I didn't step into a church until I was 18 in terms of seeing a church service. So I don't come to Rastafari through a Christian lens. What made me look at Rastafari is, you know, one of my cousins is like my brother, Emil, big up Emil. We were at Howard University, big up all of the Howard University family. And, you know, we had a Rastafari small community on campus. My cousins start chat up Rastafari, and I'm seeing, you know, and we're in reasonings, and they're talking about His Imperial Majesty, and I'm saying, how them big up this small man, so, you know, and I couldn't understand it. So I really came at Rastafari as a skeptic. You know, I wasn't convinced, even at that time, not growing up in a spiritual household. Growing up, I always believed in the Almighty, you know. But at that time, the spirituality had waned. You know, I wasn't even that, I couldn't say spiritual, nothing, you know. That was Gallus phase. And, you know, we'll talk about that on Gallus Road. Big up Vibrant. You know, I'm going to be doing an interview on the Gallus Road platform so we can talk about that part of the chart. But that was a low point in terms of spirituality, and one of the things that when I was at Howard University, because I started to, you know, come into these reasonings, Rastafari, brethren reasoning all around me, brethren them big up, man like Steve Nolan, Steve from Roots Underground, big up man like Aya Giff, you know, you had man like African Star, them time there, you know, portion, Bingy Sean was in that time, portion of brethren at Howard University, big up culture, you know, Ras Culture, Mama Tia, you know, Sister Sania, I mean, there were so many, Sadiki come later on too, but this was in the undergrad period, you know, the early period. We were there, and I know I'm leaving out a whole heap of names, but we were having these reasonings, and I find myself in these Rastafari circles. At that time, I decided to change my minor to philosophy because I was pondering the whole nature of the universe, you know, because we're having deep reasonings. You know, St. Chalice was involved too, let's be real. But that's another story. We're going to talk about cannabis and the use of cannabis in Rastafari closer to the 420. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe. We'll talk about Rastafari and the relationship with cannabis closer to that 420 date. So we're going to touch all of these topics. That being said, I read a book called Meditation on First Philosophy by the European philosopher Descartes. Very interesting. It was around the existence of God and the immortality of the soul. And, you know, it had me thinking about these things. How can you conceive this perfect being? You know, you can conceive, so therefore it must exist because you can conceive of it. It couldn't exist if you couldn't conceive of it. You know, them type of basic arguments, and really just pondering nature and realizing that, you know, we are a part of the earth, because at that same time we're learning that, you know, our body is made up of the same material that's in the stars, you know. That how the connectivity of the universe, the quantum physics, and everything is moving, everything is in motion, everything is vibrating. We're learning all of this knowledge, the connectivity, you know, the ability, you know, the power of prayer to be able to impact your own reality and how you perceive reality. Seeing all of these things and realizing all of these things brought me to this search. So I'm searching from many perspectives, from that spiritual perspective, but then I'm also looking at Ethiopia, because now my eyes are open to Ethiopia, this African nation that has never been conquered or colonized. And I'm saying, why was Ethiopia different? I grew up, you know, always hearing of the Ashanti, because my father, you know, loved the Ashanti. And, you know, most Jamaicans, you know, when we think about Ghana, we think about the Ashanti. We don't know that much about the Ashanti, but we love, you know, the vibes there. And then you have Nani and the $500 bill. So these are, you know, we learn Ashanti people. They could have been Fanti or Coromantee, which is a subset of the Fanti, but, you know, we talk about all of that in future episodes. You know, I'm in the process of moving to Ghana, so we're gonna get to move up to Ashanti region and see what's happening. We're gonna bring all of that. Again, make sure you subscribe, because we're just getting started on this Lion Voice platform. But anyhow, let me continue. So I'm looking at Ethiopia. I'm looking at spirituality, and I'm putting these things together, that for Ethiopia to have remained unconquered, it must have been the will of a higher power. The Almighty had to have been involved. And then now I have to look at what do the Ethiopians say about themselves? What is their story according to themselves? And that led to the Kebranagas, you know, and looking at the Kebranagas, and then of course this is gonna lead you to the Bible. So this is how I was led to the Bible. I'm also at the same time studying on who Haile Selassie I is. I'm looking at the achievements. This time I'm still not in the divinity category. I'm just looking at the achievements and saying, okay, African leader, I'm going with things. I'm looking at Ethiopia, but then there's all of these pieces that are circulating. I think I'm gonna have to do this in a 2-part series because there are some things that I want to touch. There was, you know, all of this was happening while I was a student at Howard, and as a student that time, you know, I had a green card, so I was here on work study, working at the university. Those who work at a university would know I had a job in the game room at Howard, you know, so I'd be down in the game room. But work study job gave you a whole heap of free time, and then I worked at Crampton Auditorium one summer as well. Big up Crampton Auditorium, big up the Blackburn Center game room, 2 places that I spent a whole heap of time. And it was in this place that I started to read the Bible, and I read it as a book from cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation. I think I read the whole Bible in one summer while I was doing work study. Cause work study sometimes them sit you down and nobody now pass through you good, you do your homework, you do whatever. All of the work study students will know what I'm talking about. So I read the Bible and I'm reading about the story of the Hebrews. Remember, I didn't grow up in no church. I don't know what this thing is even all about. So I'm seeing at that time references to Ethiopia in the Bible, and then I'm reading the Ethiopian story of, you know, how they relate to the Bible, and I'm realizing all of these locations in the Bible are in Africa. You know, I'm realizing when I read about Noah and his son Ham, who they say, you know, is a progenitor of Black Africa according to the European account. And then Ham has a son Canaan. Then I'm looking at the whole of Palestine today would have been inhabited with black people. When I'm reading in Genesis that Cush, you know, that Nimrod was the son of Cush and that he established Babylon up in what is Mesopotamia, I'm saying, okay, so now this book is telling me that these ancient people were all black people in this region. And then now I'm looking and seeing, okay, Abraham grew up in a Cushite town. There was no distinction of Abraham. And then when he's going into Egypt, he still could be Egyptian. You know, we're seeing these are all the same people. This is cultural differences in the people. I didn't know. I never looked at the Bible as an African story. Then I start reading books like Babylon to Timbuktu, you know, the Hebrewism of West Africa, because I'm a reader. That's why I call myself the reading Ras. From I was a youth, I've been reading. So, as you know, I'm reading books upon books upon books. J.A. Rogers comes into the picture at this time, all of these books. So all of these things are being put together. And then I'm seeing the prophecy of this Redeemer that would come in the Bible. I'm seeing all of these things, and I'm all at the same time reading with Rastafari elders, because at the same time I discovered the Nyabinghi house in Washington, D.C. So all of these things, we're gonna go through some of these biblical verses that are, you know, some of the pillars that are used within the Rastafari faith to draw a connection. And I want to just answer the question, is Haile Selassie I God? I didn't learn it that way, you know. I don't view Haile Selassie as God. I look at God as a German term for a deity, and Haile Selassie is not that, you know. We look at Haile Selassie as the manifestation of the Almighty in flesh and bone, you know, fully human, fully divine. And we're going to get to, again, some of the pillars. Now, within Rastafari, there are different schools of thought. So not everyone uses the biblical route to explain the divinity. We have people who deal with chemet science in Rastafari. We have people who deal with indigenous Rastafari. How I look at it is that religion is personal, state is for all. So all of us hail Rastafari, but every man has his pathway, how he gets there. The important thing is that every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess. So if a man say Rastafari, I'm not going to debate him on his path to get there. We all have to have a path. What I want to do with this platform is just to explain one of the path, my own path, so that we can discuss at the end of the day what are the outcomes that you get from the path or the way of life. I have tested Haile Selassie on the battlefield all around the world, healing Rastafari, putting my life on the line for Rastafari, all of these things. And Haile Selassie has never failed. So I am happy where I am and where I'm going, because we're just getting started. But Haile Selassie has never failed. So I'm not here to debate the divinity with anyone. Although you can leave your comments and we can reason, but I'm not here to debate anyone about the divinity. I know Haile Selassie, who he is. He's the might of the Trinity. He's the King of Kings. He's the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. He's the elect of himself and the light of the world, according to his crowning. So give thanks, and that's one of the things I love about Rastafari, is that I don't have to go there. I can just say who Haile Selassie is. That's fine for I on earth, because it's the highest on earth, by every metric. You know what I mean? So I don't have to say who I or debate a man. The work speaks for itself. And as a man, let's get to the Rastafari man standard. That is the thing, the work speaks for itself. One of the things I give thanks, going to the Battle of Adwa, I had work to share. The work speaks for itself. I don't have to go into no long talking. And that is the Rastafari man standard that we are really building. Haile Selassie represent that. So let's just touch. First I want to just read what His Majesty say on religion and spirituality while he was addressing President Radhakrishnan. And if I'm butchering that, please, I'll put up the name and an image and correct me in the comments. But this is when he was receiving an honorary doctorate from Haile Selassie I University upon his visit to Ethiopia, and His Majesty was addressing it. This is what His Majesty says: glory to word, glory to sound, glory to the power, the Most High. Haile Selassie I. Today, more than ever before, man realizes the bond of unity that exists within the race. He is endeavoring to employ the accumulated knowledge and wisdom of the ages. He is employing modern science and technology. He is reaping the benefits, however limited, of political and economic unity. And to that extent, he is transcending the age-old barriers that have divided the race so long, and is endeavoring to reflect on the welfare not only of himself and his immediate neighbor, but also on the welfare of all of the human race. This endeavor is in harmony with the spirit of the mystics of ages gone by. In the mystic traditions of the different religions, we have remarkable unity of spirit. Whatever the religions they may profess, they are spiritual kinsmen. While the different religions in their historic forms bind us to limited groups and militate against the development of loyalty to the world community, the mystics have always stood for the fellowship of humanity. So Your Excellency has taught us. And in an effort to carry out this teaching, to pursue truth, to promote those bonds common to the human race, Your Excellency has dedicated your whole life to free the human race from superstition and fear that originate from ignorance, and to enable him to transcend the apparent obstacles of race and religion, and to help him to recognize the blood ties of the whole human race, Your Excellency has labored. To this generation, so tormented between modern knowledge and ancient faith, your scrupulous studies have pointed the way by which man may be saved from traditional superstition and modern skepticism. His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, October 3rd, 1965. And that speech to I is one of the reasons why you can see why Haile Selassie thought is beyond. Because it's, even though he's the defender of the Christian faith, he sees it's bigger than Christianity, it's bigger than Islam, it's bigger than Buddhism. You know, it's about one Almighty, one people coming into unity of purpose for the betterment of humanity. This is the rising of heaven on earth. Now, there may be different paths, there may be different people with different ways that they look about the world, because Zion does not mean the same, that everything is the same, or else it would not be heaven on earth if everything was the same. So we want things to be different, but everything must be good, everything must be productive, everything has a cause and a reason. So these are the things that we see with His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. I don't want to make the episode too long, so we're going to continue to talk about my journey into why Haile Selassie I is the Almighty. We're going to look at a few of the foundation scripture. Isaiah 9:6. We're going to look at Jeremiah 23. We're going to look at Psalm 68, Psalm 87. We're going to look at Revelation 5:5. And then we're going to look at a few others, but those are some of the foundation prophecy that we, in earlier Rastafari were utilized to make the connection between who Haile Selassie is. Again, not everyone takes that route, but we want to, I'm explaining how I came to this conclusion. And then we're going to look at Haile Selassie's own story. We're going to look at how he was born from nobility, how his mother died as he was a toddler, how his father died when he became a teenager, without mother, without father for most of his developmental years, but yet still, this young child who by all accounts was extraordinary, in terms of his thirst for knowledge and learning and application of that learning. We're going to talk about how he became a governor at the age of 13, how he sat in judgment at the age of 16, how he became a Dejazmatch at the age of 13. Is Haile Selassie I God? We're going to get deep into the divinity of His Imperial Majesty, because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story, and this is the lion's voice.
Lion voice. Well, for unto us a son was born and a child was given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. Lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration from Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter if you're brown or black like Qatar. Haile Selassie say fi end all tribal war. A time fi gather Mount Zion, fi drive solar car from the car straight to Zanzibar. Who we are, the sons of Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. Then Rastafari, lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Rastafari, we do Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Royal governor from the age of 13 years, leave the palace, fi go back in a school with him peers. He's the head without fear, he's one to be revered. When them call his name, then the heathen scare. Plus the priest concerned, and him teachers concerned. Cause all this little youth want fi do is just learn. But he wait his turn, till him turn the Dejazmatch. The people rejoice when they crown as the Rasta call him. Rastafari, when he was born, rain fall from the sky. Then Rastafari, when he was grown in airplanes he fly. Then Rastafari, the lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Then Rastafari, read your Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Well, Ras call a meeting with all him general them. Say him funeral a come and him have something fi tell them. Him say, we fight together since the days of Adawa. Him